What's up, guys, and welcome to Press A repeatedly. Justin Tomasello here with Chris Gold,
Hey, everybody.
bringing this holiday special episode straight directly to you after we've filled our bellies with just tons of stuffing and turkey and cranberry and mashed potatoes and green bean casserole and cornbread and whatever else.
Apple pies, pumpkin pies, blueberry pies, pecan pies, strawberry pies.
The pies go on. I had a shoe fly pie today. I've never had that before. I've only heard the name like in cartoons or something. I didn't even know it was a real thing.
Yeah, please describe shoe fly pie to me. That's not. I've heard of shoe fly pie, but I've never had it before. What's in it?
So I asked. Here we are again talking about food. We always talk about food on this podcast, but
hey, it's our brand #branding.
Yeah, very true. I asked my friend that made it, and apparently it's a lot of it's molasses and brown sugar, and I think like cinnamon, and it kind of, at least his version of it, had like molasses on the bottom. Well, there was crust, then molasses, and then it had like a crumble, like think of like a coffee cake kind of crumble thing on top of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And I'm not really a big fan of molasses, but this was really good. And then our other friend made a butterscotch pie. I've never had that before either, and that was phenomenal. It was like the best dessert of we had a Friendsgiving thing today, but that was the best dessert of everything there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I spent the holiday over with Elena and her family, and I mean, we had a very traditional Thanksgiving. I mean, we had the stuffing, the turkey, all the stuff you mentioned earlier. But for dessert, one of her cousins came by. I mean, like, a lot of her cousins came by, but one of her cousins, it was also his birthday. So on top of all the other desserts that they were serving, we also had birthday cake to go on top of everything else.
Oh, what a sweet tooth.
Oh man, yeah, I was ready to pop by the end of the night. I really do love Thanksgiving, though. It's nice to just sit around and be with people you love and care about, and just gorge yourself to the point of being sick for the next 2-3 days.
Yeah, gorge yourself is exactly what I did. I literally ate so much at the dinner time that I could not eat dessert because I thought I was going to rip my stomach lining open. I had zero room, and it was such a shame because I love pecan pie, and there was a huge one just waiting there for me, and I couldn't have any of it. But I did it to myself, so, you know.
See, you have to Thanksgiving smarter. What you have to do is do the strategy that I do. I take just a little bit of everything, every single dish that they have out there, and I don't heap a lot of it for my first serving. I just take like a little bit, and so I get to try everything. And then my second go around, I take a second helping of all the stuff that I really, really wanted to have a second helping of. Like Elena's mom, she made this homemade cranberry sauce that, Justin, I swear to you, I used to be content with the stuff out of the can. I mean, like, I could have literally eaten one of those cans of the jellied cranberry sauce all by myself. That's how good it is. And I still like the canned stuff. Don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
But this homemade cranberry sauce, it's so good. Like, she puts these little chopped walnuts in it, and there's this little kick of something else that goes into it. I'm not even sure what, but it just bursts the flavor, and it's just, oh god, so good. I could literally just eat a huge heaping plateful of that if I could. But it was so good. And then that leaves me to save room for dessert, which was great because then I had room for a slice of apple pie, pumpkin pie, and birthday cake. And those apple and pumpkin pies, by the way, were also handmade by Elena's dad. So that's a lot of homemade stuff there, which was really, really phenomenal.
Gotta go homemade. It's the best. It's So much
Yeah.
warmth in
Oh,
that food.
plus, I mean, it's just like just the idea that it was homemade, made by someone's hands that like you know and care about.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of care goes into it. Chris, how would you feel if you got a pumpkin pie in your loot box?
Well, I suppose that would depend on how much the loot box was charging me for the honor of getting that pumpkin pie. Like if it told me, hey, here's a $50 loot box for something cool, and I'd say, okay, and I'd drop the money in and I get a pumpkin pie, I'd be a little peeved. But if it was like $10 or something, then yeah, I guess I'd be happy. But man, that's kind of a risky proposition there, you know?
Yeah, it certainly is. And the reason I bring that up is because, of course, there's been a lot of loot box kerfluffle in the news lately. And we don't really want to dive into that too much. I mean, it's just not pleasant to talk about. So, Chris and I decided this week we want to talk about the right way to use loot boxes. Maybe give some suggestions about some games that do it right. What are some things and services you would want to pay money for, and that wouldn't alter the game at all in any sense? So we're going to kind of try and put a little bit of a positive spin on loot boxes because, let's face it, they're here to stay. It's trying to help the industry. And, instead of just kind of crap all over that, we're going to just try and let's look at the bigger picture here.
Right. It's not the most ideal system that's in place, but it's I mean, as Justin said, it's here to stay. It's here to stay. So we figure, let's look at some different models out there that feel a little less predatory and more of something where, okay, you'd be willing to invest the money.
Yes. But as always, before we get to that, Chris, what are you playing? What are you playing?
Well, Justin, I've been playing quite a lot this week. Surprisingly, earlier this week, Nintendo released Animal Crossing Pocket Camp a little earlier than expected.
Yeah, so when was the actual date that came out? Because I didn't even know. I was just kind of looking online and saw all people tweeting about how they're playing it right now, and I don't even remember that getting a release date or anything. Like, it kind of just happened overnight.
Right. I think it was supposed to release either Thanksgiving or the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and they decided to release that, I think, either that Monday or Tuesday. I don't remember exactly when, but yeah, I didn't even realize. I just kind of woke up, I got myself ready, I hopped on Twitter, and then I saw in my timeline everyone was like, "Oh, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is out. Pocket Camp is out." And I said, "What?" So I hopped over to ye ol' iTunes store, to the App Store, and yeah, it's a free download. So I said, all right. So I downloaded it, and yeah, I gotta say, I was not really anticipating this game so much. I wasn't really looking forward to it too much because I love the Animal Crossing games. Like, I remember I devoted so much time into the original game that came out on GameCube. There was Wild World years back I think that was for the DS.
The DS, yeah.
And then, of course, there was New Leaf that came out a few years ago for the 3DS, which, God, that was a time sink. Oh, man.
And City Folk for the Wii.
Yes, and City Folk for the Wii. But ever since then, we haven't had a real actual, full release of an Animal Crossing game. And I remember a few weeks back, you in particular were talking about how you're kind of done with the Animal Crossing series at this point. Like, you're not really looking forward to it too much. And
yes.
I mean, yeah, that's fair, I suppose. But to me, I got to scratch that itch a little bit. And Animal Crossing Pocket Camp is definitely an itch scratcher, but it's not like a full, oh yeah, that's the spot. Like now the itch is gone.
So that sounds about right. Giving you a taste, not the whole thing, but enough to have what sounds like a pleasant experience on the go.
Yes, it definitely is very pleasant. It's a great time killer, and even especially, I'm not really much of a mobile phone gamer. I don't have a lot of space on my phone for games in particular, but even then, there just are a lot of games that are out on mobile right now that just do not interest me. But Animal Crossing, it has Nintendo backing, it has the Animal Crossing brand to it, so I said, you know what, I want to give this a shot. So I remember downloading it, and I guess the decision to release the game sooner than expected might have put a load on Nintendo's servers a little bit, because man, let me tell you, that game, when I first started out, and I was not the only one who's having this issue, that game became a connection error simulator.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting earlier in the week that you just really had a problem getting on.
It was so hard to get on. You would hop on and you get yourself set up. You can design your little avatar, and you run around to these different locations in the campsite. Like you have your main campsite that you can decorate with furniture that you eventually craft from materials that you gain from the other campers who inhabit the land. And I kept getting so many connection error issues every time I tried to talk to someone, or if I tried to move to like the fishing hole versus the bug area versus the little river area that had a combination of fruit and fish. Every time I was moving somewhere, it became like, and it has that Animal Crossing like noise every time you try to do something that you're not allowed to do or you can't do.
Yeah.
So that noise was popping up, and then I would hit, please, connection error, please try again. So I'd hit retry, and it would just go after like a few seconds, and I was literally just doing that over and over and over again. It'd just be and I'm like, oh my god, like I was getting really, really frustrated with this, and especially consider I'm not a mobile game fan to begin with, so this was really getting on my nerves in the early going. Yeah, definitely off to a rocky start. But later in the week, after a couple of days, they addressed the issue. It was, again, not something I alone was experiencing. This is something everybody was complaining about online. And they did some behind-the-scenes work and got their servers ready, and I think they took care of a few in-game items to help ease the load on the servers a little bit. So now, at this stage, right now, as you're listening to it, if you run Pocket Camp and you're on a good connection, then the game really should run fine. It should be really stable. So the connection issues, for the most part, are really fixed at this point. And the game itself, what you have to do is, again, you craft the furniture, and you want to craft the furniture to bring these campers who, again, they're like the normal denizens of the Animal Crossing world, and you want to invite them to your campsite, as it will up your camp's prestige, and you're trying to up the camp's prestige by inviting more and more of the little villagers. You also want to increase your own personal level by befriending the villagers, and by befriending the villagers, you raise your friendship score with each of them. And you'll notice there's a lot of different items here to keep track of so far that I'm talking about. You've got your own level. You've got friendship scores with each of the villagers. You have the different furniture that you craft for your campsite. You have the furniture of your camper. You have the camper yourself that you can customize. Like when you first start out, you get a very basic looking bland camper, but then you can take it to this shop in the area, and you can customize the outside look of it. You can upgrade it so it looks a little cooler. Right now, I have mine with the same color scheme as Neapolitan ice cream. So
Okay.
it's got like 3 stripes. The front stripe is pink, the middle is white, and the back one is brown.
Nice. Does it make you want ice
Yes.
cream every time you look at it?
I'll be honest, man. Every time I look at anything, I want ice cream.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm a big fan of ice cream. It's been too long since I've had Neapolitan. What was I talking about? Animal Crossing. So, Animal Crossing. It's a mobile game that you get on iTunes. No, but seriously, it's a lot to keep track of, and every time you get something for the villagers, they all want something like, oh, I want this type of bug, I want this type of fish, I want I want like 2 oranges, 3 cherries, and a pear. And I mean, you go around to each of these different locales, and one area has fruit, another has fish, another has bugs, and to catch and collect everything, you just tap. Anywhere on the screen, like there's a tree that has fruit in it, you tap the tree. Your character will go over, you'll shake the tree, and then you tap each of the fruits to pick them up, and they get added to your inventory. Catching bugs and fish, you say tap on the water in front of where the fish is, and then the fish will kind of like nibble at the hook, and as soon as the hook goes down, you get a little icon that pops up that says tap, and so you tap and the fish is caught. Same thing with a bug. So you see a bug, you tap on the bug, your character will run up to it, but then he'll kind of sneak up to it a little, and then an icon will pop up to say tap. You hit tap, and you catch the bug.
Does it feel like overly simplified? Like, I know a lot of the bugs and fish were kind of hard to catch in the actual Animal Crossing games. Are they all like pretty easy now?
They're all, for the most part, pretty easy, because it's just a matter of tapping in the right locations for the fish, where, I mean, you just want to tap in front of where the little fish shadow is for, in the water. And then as soon as they bite down, you hit you just tap, and you'll catch the fish after a little bit of a struggle. And I mean, it's not too dissimilar from one of the mainline Animal Crossing games where you kind of have to sneak up with like your bug net at the ready and then release it at just the right time. Like, bug catching is much easier in this game than it is in a main Animal Crossing game. Fishing, I would say, is a little too, just because, I mean, say you're fishing in a river, your little bobber will travel down with the river. It may go away from the fish. You have to wait to time things just right. The timing is much more simplified in this game than it is in the mainline games.
Okay.
Yeah, and then as you talk to these villagers, as you give them more and more things, eventually, if you raise their friendship level to level 3, you get the option to invite them to your campsite. And this is where a lot of people are pointing out like how shallow this game feels. The villagers will say, oh, that's great, like, I'd love to come to your campsite, but I want there to be certain furniture at the campsite before I'll go there. And so, like, you'll get kind of a list of the different furniture that each villager wants. And, like, someone will want, like, a sofa, another will want, like, a cactus, they'll all want a bunch of different things each. So, to invite these villagers over, you have to craft these items. So, okay, you go into the menu, you hit the craft icon, you tap on the little craft shelf area, and assuming you have the materials, and again, the materials you get from trade with the different villagers, you'll get things like steel, wool, wood, cotton, and they will use these materials to help craft this furniture. And different furniture has different times to it. Like, some furniture takes a minute, some takes 3 minutes. Some furniture, like the heavier duty stuff, takes 3 hours.
Right, and then that's when you can use the microtransactions to speed it up if you wanted to.
Yes. So it is a mobile game and it is free to play, so that means there are microtransactions. And in this game, these microtransactions take the form of what they call leaf tickets. And you have you can earn leaf tickets again by completing certain stretch goals within the game, different timed goals, or by leveling up with different characters and different villagers. And so you have the ability to naturally accrue these leaf tickets in game, but you also have the option to buy more leaf tickets using actual real world money. And they come in different packages, and it's funny, like as you scroll down the menu to look at where you buy the leaf tickets from, you see like, okay, here's like a little stack of leaf tickets, and it's like, I don't know, 200 leaf tickets is like, I forget the actual pricing, but it's like $3.99 or something like that.
Yeah.
Then there'll be like a slightly bigger stack of leaf tickets, and that'll be like $9.99 for like 800 of them, and so on and so forth. And then at the very bottom, like the most leaf tickets you can get like 1,200 leaf tickets for like $40 or something like that. And the last image is Tom Nook in a bathtub filled with leaf tickets.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of splashed in these leaf tickets all around him. It just cracks me up every single time because it just fits Tom Nook's character so much. He's always been such a greedy bastard, and that was exactly this thing that he would do if he had that many bells and leaf tickets.
I saw an image of that floating around a couple of weeks ago, and I cracked up because like it's so funny, and I love how self-aware they are of just like all this money that like Tom Nook is all he cares about is taking your money, and then like just to actually like put it in the game like that is hilarious.
It's so funny. It's ridiculous. But yeah, these leaf tickets, they have a lot of different uses. As you mentioned, you can use these leaf tickets to speed up the crafting process to get things built more quickly. You can also use leaf tickets to buy material you need to craft particular furniture. And it depends how much material you need. Like, let's say, I need to build this couch, but I have 5 steel and I need 6. So the game will say, oh, for 1 leaf ticket, you can get that extra steel, and then we'll craft the item for you. And it's like, okay, I'll do that. And once you have the leaf ticket, like the leaf ticket itself doesn't cost money. Like once it's in your inventory, you can just use it. So you just, all right, give you a leaf ticket. But let's say you have an item, and I'm actually going through this right now, where you have, say, a couch or something, and it takes 30 steel to build, and you don't have any at all. So it says, oh, for like 30 leaf tickets, we'll get you the steel that you need to build this thing. I'm like, oh no, that's a lot of leaf tickets to drop for just a couch, so I can get friggin' Bunny to come visit my campsite. Bunny is not worth all that. And that's the thing. Like in the mainline games, you talk to the villagers and you do favors for them. You run like these little fetch quests, but you can still invite them you could still invite them over to your house. You could go over to their place. Like it felt like you were developing more of a connection with these characters, and they had more unique personalities. But the villagers in this game, they're all just so shallow. They're all just like, oh,
vapid.
Yeah, very vapid. Like, oh, imagine, Justin, if I invited you over to my apartment and you're like, oh, I'd love to come over to your place, but only if you have a modern sofa. As soon as you buy yourself a modern sofa, then I'll consider coming over. I would think, wow, what a jerk. But in this game, like that's that's the point of the game. You want these jerks to come over to your campsite and use your stuff. Like, and let me tell you, my campsite is full right now. So I go over and I see people are sleeping in my beds. They're sleeping in my cot. They're like hanging out on my couches. Some of them are even sitting on couches that they didn't even specifically request. Like, so I'm like, oh, are you really so not picky that you'll sit on just any couch? Then why did you make me go through the time and expense to build this other couch that I'm not even using right now? It doesn't go with the rest of my decor. And that's kind of what's funny too, is as soon as you craft these items, you can invite these campers over, and you have to have the furniture set up in your campsite for them to come over and be happy with how the campsite looks. So the game gives you an option to auto arrange your campsite with the furniture that particular camper wants. So you say, okay, you hit that, and then you go through this little cutscene where they come over and they're like, oh, wow, look at this campsite. And then they're using all the furniture, like they're sitting down, and then they're like resting, and they're having a good time. And then at the end, they're like, wow, this place is great. And it's like, oh, great. Then, Filbert, the squirrel, can come over whenever he wants, and you can invite him over whenever you want. And as soon as the cutscene ends, you get a little button prompt that says, do you want to put all the furniture back the way it was before? And it's yes. Every single time I'm like, yes, I would like to do. So literally, Justin, I'm pulling all this furniture out of storage, getting it all set up just so that this friggin' squirrel can come by, look at everything and say, wow, this is great. And then the second he leaves, I'm putting it all back the way it was, the way I liked it.
So then he'll still come over like later and not have a problem with not seeing any of the stuff that he requested there anymore?
Yep.
Oh, so weird.
Yeah. So like, yeah, I know. People online were actually complaining about it. Like, this who was this actress, Chrissy Teigen. She actually had kind of a tweet storm about this a few days ago, where she was just complaining about the game. She was like, she said, quote, "These pocket Animal Crossing animal people things, they aren't our friends. They're jerks who make certain couch demands before visiting someone's house, then shows a video montage of them sleeping on it. I hate these people."
Yeah, I mean, they just sound like horrible, like, moochers.
They are. They're horrible people animal things, and they just use you just to go visit your campsite. Like they are
not even care if the stuff is even there or not.
Yeah, seriously. They are the friend who, like, growing up, who would like come over if you had a pool and be like, "Oh yeah, man, yeah, we're great friends, like, hey, can I use your pool?" And then he like hangs out in the pool, and then during the winter months when you've got it closed down, they never show up. Like, try contacting them, they're not even there. Then it gets warmer, you open the pool up, "Hey man, how's it going?"
How's it going? Yeah.
Yeah, they're that shallow friend. That's
maybe they're
all
all
these
tied.
people.
Maybe they're all tied up with Tom Nook, and like they they make you buy stuff for them to spend money so that Tom Nook gets it. Like it's all a big ruse.
Oh, and then they're funneling the money back to Nook.
That
sounds like exactly the type of scam that Tom Nook would run. I haven't seen him yet, the greedy bastard, but I'm sure he'll show up at some point.
He's somewhere pulling the strings.
But yeah, all in all, I like the game. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a great time killer, but in terms of wanting for an actual Animal Crossing game, it definitely leaves you wanting more. Like, the ability to customize your campsite and your camper is just not the same as it is like creating your own house and having your own decor going on there. There's more options in a mainline Animal Crossing game. It feels a lot less shallow. I will mention the social aspect of it, like where you interact with other human people, is pretty cool. You can actually go visit. You can make friends with different player characters that you see randomly throughout the world. And you can also share your friend code to become friends with other players online. And you can visit their campsites, and you can give them kudos for how their campsite looks. Which, I mean, I've been giving kudos to everyone because a lot of people have these just amazing setups going on out there. You wouldn't even believe. And
yeah, word on the street is that Zool's got a pretty sweet campsite.
Zool's is awesome. Go check it out as soon as you can. And yeah, you also have the option, like, if you have a lot of inventory items saved up, you can stash them in what they call a market box, and other players can look through your market box and they can buy with bells, so in-game currency. They can buy these items off of you if they need them, or you can buy items off of other players. So that's pretty cool.
That's a nice touch. Yeah, it definitely gets a little bit more of the buying aspect involved, and maybe taking away from having to pay real money to get some of those ingredients or tools that you need to make them.
Right. So my overall recommendation is, you want to play Animal Crossing. If you really miss it, then Pocket Camp is going to scratch the itch. Like, it's going to be like if you're waiting for a meal, but then you have like a little pack of gummy bears or something, and you like eat the gummy bears to stave off your hunger.
Hold you over.
To hold you over. Yeah, that's Pocket Camp. Pocket Camp is a holdover. It's satisfying. It's great. It's not going to fill you up, and there is no nutritional content there.
Whew, that was a pretty extensive look at Pocket Camp.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It was. There's a lot to discuss with Pocket Camp, and I felt like it was worth a look.
Yeah,
but that's okay. The other games that I've played this week, I don't have to delve too much into. Stardew Valley. I finally made a decision.
Big news.
The big news in my love triangle with Penny and Leah. And I hate to break the hearts of everyone out there who was hashtag Team Leah, but I decided to give my love and my mermaid pendant to Penny.
Yes,
so
and I'm proud of you for making a very tough decision.
It was not an easy decision at all. I mean, I really, really liked both of them, but I felt like here's the choice, how it came down to me. Like, I got both of them up to 8 hearts of friendship, and I thought about it. Like, Leah, I gave her the confidence that she needed to hold an art show in the middle of the town where everyone got to admire her artwork, and it gave her the confidence boost that she needed to really pursue her dream of being an artist. Penny lives in a trailer by the river with her mother, and she's constantly cleaning and scrubbing this trailer down because her mother is, she's an alcoholic and kind of a deadbeat. Like, she just lounges around the trailer all day, and then all night she goes over to the Stardrop Saloon and just drinks the night away. And so Penny is left behind to kind of clean up her messes. And, I mean, Penny is just the sweetest person. I mean, she goes out of her way to help people. She teaches the school children because no one else will. She takes them to the museum. Like, she deserves a better life than that. And Leah, on the other hand, I mean, she lives in this nice scenic cottage right by the lake, which gives her the freedom and the independence she needs to pursue her art. And ultimately, I realized, you know what? Like, I would be happy to marry either Leah or Penny, but Leah is happy with the life she has now. Penny is not happy with the life that she has now. And I felt like, you know what? Penny deserves better. I wanted better for her. So, yeah, Penny I gave the mermaid pendant to. which was a little awkward because I already had the scene with Leah where she set up a picnic for me to thank me for helping get the art show set up for her. And she kissed me at this picnic. So I was like, oh, God, Leah, please, no, don't do this to me.
Yeah,
But,
well,
yeah. It was worth it, though, because her ex, Kel, showed up, and I got to punch him in the face, so that was nice.
I did the same thing in my playthrough, and it's one of the most enjoyable parts of Stardew Valley.
It really is. It's so satisfying.
Because the options are like punch him in the face or like don't do anything. And of course you're gonna pick punch him in the face. It's awesome to just punch this dude in the face. He's like been so mean to Leah and like just a horrible person. He comes in and starts like screaming at her and just like insulting her, and like he's just asking for a good sock to the face, and to be able to deliver that is just amazing.
It really is. And then, oh man, when Penny confessed her love to me. Here's I mean, you haven't gotten this far with Penny before in your playthroughs, but she invited me once I got her up to 10 hearts after I gave her the bouquet to be my girlfriend. She invited me to the bathhouse after dark one night.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so I go to the bathhouse and there I am, and there she is, just in her swimsuit, and she's like, so, I guess we're alone now. And I was like, oh my. I was tugging at my collar. I'm like, what is going on here? And yeah, it turns out she confessed her love for me, and I had the option of saying I feel the same way, or I'm sorry, I don't feel that way about you.
Ooh.
And of course I went with, I feel the same way. And then a couple days later, I got the mermaid pendant and gave it to her. But I was curious. So I looked up what happens to Penny if you tell her, I'm sorry, I don't feel the same way about you. First of all, watching the video is gut-wrenching because, yeah. Penny is pouring her heart out to you, and then you just turn her down stone cold.
Roll your eyes and say, yeah, I gotta get back to the farm.
Yeah, she just starts crying, and then she makes a beeline out of the bathhouse as quick as she can. And Justin, in game, you have the friendship points that accrue in the different hearts, right? In game. If you reject Penny at that moment, you lose 1,500 you lose 1,500 friendship points with Penny. I think literally, God. If you had her hearts up to 10 and you reject her, I think that resets you down to 0.
Oh, yeah. So, that seems fair.
Yeah, but oh man, I was like, oh man, I made the right call. I can't break Penny's heart. Not like that. I am a terrible person, but I am not a monster, damn it.
I think the important thing to take from here is that Penny's a dirty girl.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Yeah, lady in the streets. Know what I'm saying? But yeah, so now she's living in my farmation, and
so do we hear wedding bells?
Oh, wedding bells have been rung, man. 16 summer year 2 is our anniversary.
Congratulations.
Yes, so we are officially a couple. She's living in my farmhouse now. My next goal for us is I gotta upgrade my house so that we get a nursery, so that we can hear the pitter-patter of 2 screeching, sobbing, snotting feet.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
So far, I haven't picked up Stardew in a little while, but I was kind of disappointed with the whole baby part of the game, because literally, you have a baby and it just stays in the crib and never comes out. There's never any cutscenes with the baby. All you do is walk up to the crib and press A, and it says, whatever you named it is sleeping right now. And, that's it. But maybe because I was still in the second year, maybe in the third year when it starts to grow up, it starts to do some stuff. But like, yeah, for where I am now, it's just like the baby is basically a furniture piece.
See, it's funny because, yeah, I know Elena in her playthrough, she actually married the doctor, Harvey, and they have a baby together. And she was actually showing screenshots of me. Like, the baby is out of the crib and was, like, crawling around on the kitchen.
Oh,
And
really?
she was, like, playing with it. So, I don't know. Maybe you just need to age your baby up a little.
Yeah, either that or Leah's just spending too much time drinking the wine instead of taking care of the baby.
That's entirely possible with Leah. She likes to hit the sauce a
She's
little
a
hard.
bit of a wino, if you know what I mean.
Yep. Well, have fun with Leah. But yeah. Outside of that, my farm is running fine. Like I upgraded the coops. I got like all sorts of stuff, and it's whatever. It's Stardew Valley. I'm running my farm the best I can.
Yeah, you're living one day at a time.
Yes. Let's see. Outside of that, played just a touch of Mario Odyssey. Got a couple more Power Moons, and that's the end of my Super Mario Odyssey recap. Nothing more to add there than what we've already mentioned before. So, Justin, throwing it over to you. What are you playing?
Well, I would add something about that. I mean, like, I saw you over the weekend, and we both had our Switches, and we were both playing our own Odyssey save files, and, I had just gotten, like, my 397th moon or something, and I was like, yeah, I got 397 moons. And you were like, oh, let me see how much I have. And then you're like, oh, 556 or something. And I was like, whoa. When, like, you silently really spent a lot of time and getting these moons. I actually wonder how many hours you're at right now for Odyssey. Have you checked?
I haven't checked. Last I saw, I think it was like, and this can't be right. It might be like 30 or 40 hours or so.
Yeah, it could be. I mean,
Yeah,
I beat the main game in around 20, so it could be another 20 hours of just moon hunting.
That makes sense. But yeah, it's a fun game. Like when I ended that day, I cashed in my moons, and I'm actually up to 596 right now.
Excuse me. Yeah. Yeah, but hey, I was super impressed. It's a great number. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working on 100%ing, and it's a very tough go. It's going to be a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun, obviously, too. And, I really like that. So when you go back to a world after you beat it, there's the extra moves that get unlocked and everything. But it's different, whereas when you're playing the main game, first starting out, it's kind of like, oh, there are moons here. Like, maybe I'll find them while I'm exploring the world. Whereas when you're playing through the worlds again, there are a lot of tools to help you locate the moons a little bit easier if you're, obviously trying to 100% it. And so, you don't only have the toad that gives you the hints or the amiibo hint, but when you unlock the, like, silver moon box that has a bunch of moons, when they spread out on the map, they're instantly marked on the map, so you know where they are. When you go into like a platforming level or like a like a little off room thing, puzzle room thing, Cappy will tell you, oh, I remember this place. I think there's still maybe one moon left here, and maybe like 3 purple coins. So like he lets you know in this room if there's still obviously more stuff to get. Or if you've done everything in there, he just says, like, I don't think there's anything left to do here. So it really helps you kind of keep moving on, like, collecting the moons. And, I appreciate that a lot. It's really helping out. I've started trying to 100% all levels. I am only missing... So I started with Cap Kingdom, and I'm only missing 2 Power Moons there, I think. I have all the coins. And then Cascade Kingdom, I have all the coins, and I'm only missing, I think, 1 moon there. And then I moved over to the Sand Kingdom, and that's what I'm working on now. There's like, with the additional moons in that level, I think it's up to like around 90 moons in that one level. And yeah, it's crazy. I think I have around 60 there right now. So still working on a lot of them.
I can't even imagine where some of these moons are hiding. Like, I know you've talked about it before, but I feel like I have combed over
Yeah.
every single square inch of these levels, and then I look at my map and I see like, oh, I'm missing like 20 moons from the area. I'm like, where? Where are they hiding?
Yeah, it's rough. And I'm getting to the parts where you have to start using some of those hint pictures that you take throughout the game. Like when you're in another world and you see like a poster on the wall, and you
Right.
literally take a screenshot of it, and there's a hint in there. But man, these hints are so vague that like I don't really know what it means, and I'm like trying to figure it out, and I'm like running all over the map to get to a certain angle that maybe would help me like think of what to do. And yeah, like there's a couple that I just have no clue what I'm supposed to do with them right now, which is frustrating but also cool. Like I like that it's definitely challenging. A lot of the platforming is getting harder, and I've heard that even some of the places I haven't been to yet that you get later on, it gets really difficult. So I'm looking forward to that, but I'm probably going to make sure I play it in docked mode so I don't throw my Switch in frustration out the window, because I'm probably going to be dying a lot.
I have to confess, the thought has entered my mind more times than not where I'm playing something on my Switch in handheld mode and I get like really frustrated at one part, and the thought enters my mind very briefly to just take the Switch and just snap it over my knee. But I'm like, no, can't do that.
That would be something that would feel so like perfectly amazing.
It would be so satisfying for like a second.
And then you realize what you've done, and it would just be awful.
Yes, please do not, in frustration or any other reason, snap your Switch over your knee.
Yeah,
we do not recommend that.
We do not recommend that. I played more Hob, and I know last week I was a little kind of lukewarm on it, but the more I've played, the more it's really grown on me. Especially the art style, which I was kind of complaining about some of the textures being a little weak and stuff, but I'm in the first dungeon right now, and like a lot of just these little tiny details to like the enemies and all these contraptions that you go through, and different kinds of like ladders that you're going down, and the background environments. Like, it's a beautiful game. And there was a part I wanted to mention that last week that I forgot, is that there's parts on the map where it reminded me of Life is Strange, where you just go to this area and you like hit X to interact with it, and your character just like sits down and like looks like out ahead, and like, for example, like if you're up on a cliff, like the camera will kind of pan and like put your character in the bottom left corner, and you just see like the giant like world in front of you, and like clouds and like birds flying around and stuff, and it's just like a very serene, like meditative zen like moment. You can sit there as long as you want, and you kind of listen to the ambient music, and then when you're ready, you just press X, and he gets up, and it goes back. You go back to your adventure, and I appreciate this thing so much. Like, it's just so relaxing, and really, really, like, I was looking at the detail of the trees, and again, like the animals and plant life. That's all very active, by the way, too. Some of the I mentioned last week, the flora and the fauna are really impressive, but a lot of the plant life is like alive, and if you stand really close to like a plant like branch with these spikes on it, it'll like move and like try to attack you, and it's just part of the environment. Like when you're walking by it, like out of nowhere, it's just like a giant like spiky arm of a tree will come down and try to hit you. And there's in the Zelda fashion, there's heart pieces you can find to kind of add to your health container, and they're hidden in like these big like bulbous kind of plant things. And when you find them, you kind of stick your sword in it, and then use your big robot arm to like peel it apart and like get that little heart piece container thing. And it's just, I don't know, it's really cool. I really like the whole style and tone of the game. And this dungeon that I'm in, it's still the first dungeon, and I was playing the other night for like almost 2 hours, and like I still wasn't through it yet. it was just really like it's not that it was hard. It was cleverly designed, and there's a lot of little like intricate things you kind of have to do. Like you press this button to open this bridge, and then like press this other button to open a door. Oh, but that door needs to be powered by electricity, so you have to move this big battery to like power these two like generators that will unlock the button so you can open that door. And then you move on to the next room and the next room, and you're kind of going in like these little areas and going down underground to like press another lever that will open up a bridge above ground, so then you kind of travel back up ground. And it's just really cool because you can kind of really see how intricate some of these like trinkets and stuff are designed. And there's even like there's this platform that you can actually, when you like power it up, it's like a big platform that's on like these four legs, and when you power it up, you can actually like climb on top of it, and you press the button, and the platform like rises into the air, and almost becomes like this robot walker thing, and you can move it around and just like smash enemies with it and like kill them instantly, and like it's really cool because some of these enemies do like a lot of damage and can kill you in one swing, so it's awesome to like be able to turn the table. And like they see it coming, and they react, and they start like sprinting away, and they're like kind of flailing their arms in the air, like running away from you. But you could kind of just like sneak up behind them and just stomp them into the ground. It's a really satisfying moment.
Nice. I really want to pick this up. I mean, the game just looks so good. It just visually is really impressive.
Yeah, it's it's a nice game to relax to. I've been playing it after coming home from work and just kind of chilling out for an hour. And it's just a really pleasant experience, and I'm looking forward to more.
Nice. What else you got?
Just a little bit more Overwatch. Not really much to talk about. I'm still really bad, but still having a lot of fun with it. And if you are listening today, it's Monday the 27th. This is the last day of that Overwatch sale. So pick it up if you haven't already, because it's half off until I think like midnight tonight. So yeah, don't miss out on that promotion.
Yeah, do not sleep on this deal. Overwatch honestly is such a fun game. I love it so much. Yeah, definitely pick it up. 50% off for Overwatch is a steal.
Yep.
All right, so is that it?
So yeah, that's all it from me. So what do you say we hop right into the Indie Arcade?
Indie Arcade.
If you remember, last week I gave Chris the Nintendo Switch game Bulb Boy to play. Chris, take it away.
Justin, you would think that with a game like Bulb Boy, we were still in the midst of our creepy arcade segment, but no, that is not the case. This is regular Indie Arcade, and Bulb Boy, though, is a very, very... It's creepy, but I'd say... I guess creepy isn't really the best word. Unsettling is a more appropriate word, I suppose. It was published and developed by a real indie Polish company, Bulbware, that literally was just two guys in a studio who created the whole thing. Came out a little over 2 years ago in October 2015. And it's just really, really well done. Like, it's got this really atmospheric vibe to it that's just unsettling, like the sound design and the music and the aesthetic of it just all combine to give the game just this off-putting look and feel to it. The game itself, you are the titular Bulb Boy, and it starts out you're at your house. You're living with your grandfather and this flying dog, like a moth dog, I believe it's called, and you're just sitting at home and you're watching television, and then it gets late and you decide it's time to go to bed. So you go to bed, and this horrifying like monstrosity like attacks the house, and it steals away your grandpa. And the goal of the game at this point is to you find your dog, and then you rescue Grandpa, who's been taken by this horrifying thing. And it's really kind of hard to describe because the game is told kind of visually. If any dialogue that is presented in speech bubbles, where if a character wants something or if they're conveying something, a picture is within the speech bubble of the thing that they want.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So there's no words or dialogue of any sort. If there is any talking, it's all kind of this gibberish, and I mean that's fine. So it makes it. The story itself is pretty simple, so it's not hard to follow what exactly is going on. And in terms of like graphically, like the game runs really great. There's no frame rate issues. The lighting effects are really, really well done. The game overall has like this green hue to it, so everything is very dark and very green. So it gives you the sense that like you're looking at everything through night vision, almost. And so the game uses the darkness to its advantage by hiding a lot of enemies and traps out in the shadows. And it's as far as the actual art style itself, and I'm not 100% sold on the way the game looks. It looks fine, but I guess just the way that everything is drawn and everything is designed, yes, everything is very creepy and unsettling, but I'm just not a fan of the art style itself. Like, it's just a little too off-putting for me, and yeah, it just didn't really do anything for me.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, art styles are kind of a subjective thing that a lot of people might like one over the other or feel a different way towards another. So that totally, checks out.
Let me see. The game, it's definitely, if I had to describe Ball Boy in one word, it would be gross. This is a gross, disgusting game. The humor of the game is clearly very, very toilet humor driven. There's a lot of flatulence jokes, a lot of toilet humor, like pee, poop jokes, things of that nature. A lot of
very weird. I would never have thought that when I first looked at a couple of the screenshots and assigned the game.
Yeah, let me just to give you an idea. Let me give you a rundown of the toilet humor that's in the game, all right? There is at one point where you defeat this giant enemy, right? I'm going to try to keep it as spoiler-free as possible. And you defeat the enemy, and then you decide to eat the enemy. You eat their remains as soon as they're done. And it's fine because they're fully cooked. So there's really no issue there. But then, as you're leaving the room, you suddenly get a case of the gurgles. So there's a bathroom that just so happens to be right there as you're getting the gurgles. So you run in, and you do, and I mean, the game, it doesn't show explicit detail, but you very clearly take a number 2 in the toilet.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden there's this roaring and the bathroom shakes, and then all of a sudden your number 2 rises up out of the toilet as this gigantic monstrosity, and it's screaming at you, and it's flailing at you, and you have to defeat this new boss all of a sudden. And there are points, Justin, where it's screeching at you and it's just about to attack you, and you have to rapidly click the mouse button to get away from it, or to fend it off temporarily. So it's a lot of the game has that sort of humor to it. But I mean, they're all really very very cool. Like the game, like the bosses are very well designed. Overall, this game is really, really well done. Like the puzzles are sufficiently creative where you're kind of sitting there thinking, what do I need to do? But none of the puzzles ever feel unfair. Like they all have viable solutions to them. Levels
So is
are
it like sorry to interrupt, but like how do you move? Is it like a point and click? Is it like a platformer? Are you controlling Bold Boy? Are you attacking with him?
it's a point and click puzzle adventure. So you're just kind of clicking all around the screen, and there are different items in the environment that you can interact with. And there are some items that, like, oh, over here is a watering can, and over there is a faucet. So you have to combine them to use a filled faucet on something else. And so that's kind of the way the game is. It's a very short adventure game with puzzle elements to it.
Yeah. Okay.
And let's see. I mean, it's a very, very short game. I was able to beat it in literally less than 2 hours. But in spite of that, it felt like a really good length of time for the game. It didn't feel like it was too short any longer. And you would think, okay, the game is starting to wear out its welcome.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, and I had a feeling when I was. I mean, I'm not going to spoil anything, but I quote unquote cheesed the final boss fight, and I didn't even realize it. Like I had a feeling, and now cheesing, for anyone out there who doesn't know, is when you do something in game that the game designers themselves didn't intend for you to do. So, like, this is classic in something like Super Mario Maker, where a lot of the level designers, like, I remember one level was designed where you had to go through this whole maze, and they set up this giant wall in the front where, okay, you had to turn around and go through the maze to get to the end goal. Well, a lot of speedrunners would quote-unquote cheese the level by jumping over that wall because the designers never built the wall high enough. So they would actually jump over that wall and reach the goal that way. So that's how they were able to skip literally the entire level by doing that.
Right.
And I actually managed to do the same thing with the final boss here. Because, I mean, I can't go into any details, but I managed to get myself into an area of the game where everything was all blank. And then as I was moving to the right, I realized I was actually above the level a little bit. So I scrolled over, and next thing I know, I was in the last stage of the boss fight. And I was able to, and I mean, it was a very simple boss fight, so I beat him really easily. But I had a suspicion that I didn't do it the right way, so I actually went back and I watched a video of what the final boss fight is, and yeah, there's like multiple stages to it. It's like really heavily involved, and I was like, oh man, I didn't do any of this. I just immediately skipped right to the end of the boss fight here.
Oh wow, that's kind of weird that would like slip into the main game.
Yeah, it was this. It was kind of it had to have been a glitch or something that I just kind of stumbled across while playing the game. But I mean, outside of that, like it didn't. I mean, it was it was still a pretty challenging boss just to get to that point. As I mean, there are stages and stages to this boss, and it's really creative and very cleverly laid out. And man, I really, really enjoyed Ball Boy. It was really gross. Like, if you enjoy toilet humor and kind of enjoy the creepy aesthetic to it, then yeah, I would definitely recommend it. It's a perfect length.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. I know last week Butch and Nick and I were kind of like, oh, this game looks kind of cool actually, and I don't know about Nick, but I know Butch wound up buying it and beating it, and now I really want to try it too. So yeah, I'm glad you had a good time playing it, and I'm kind of glad that I think that the time of it is probably perfect. Like you said, you don't want it to overstay its welcome, and I feel like definitely a lot of these like poop jokes would kind of get really old pretty quickly. So that makes sense to me.
Yep. All right, so Justin, tables are turning to you now.
Yes.
Now, I gotta say, like, I listened to last week's episode. I mean, I wasn't on it, but still, I listened to it because I'm a loyal subscriber. And
I hope so.
something that Butch said really stuck out to me last week. We have been a little too nice to each other with Indie Arcade, haven't we? Especially as of late.
Yes, we have.
So I thought, you know what? That's no fun. Like, Butch is right. We have been really, really lenient on each other. Like, we did just go through Creepy Arcade and all that, but even then, like, a lot of the games we gave each other were pretty fun and enjoyable. But I feel like, you know what? We need to switch it up a little bit. So this week, I'm not necessarily giving you a bad game to play based on a lot of the reviews that I'm seeing for it, but according to the reviews, I mean, recent reviews are overwhelmingly positive. All reviews are overwhelmingly positive. It's just that This game is an embarrassing game that you would probably hate to have people see in your Steam library.
Oh God.
So, Justin, the game that I am giving to you, and I'm going to spell this out for you so you can find it. It's on Steam. It is Rabbi Ribby. It's RABI hyphen RIBI.
Oh, jeez.
Dodge bullets, missiles, and lasers in battle as you wrap your head around that bunny girl costume. Combo away with your mighty Pico hammer or spam various spells from afar with your fiery fairy friend. Explore and explode through Rabbi Island as you collect power-ups and uncover secrets.
All right. I gotta say, I'm actually surprised that we made it this far, and this is the first, like, anime over-sexualized style game that we've assigned, for someone to play.
Yeah, bravo to us. It took a while to hold out on this, but yeah, here we are. We have finally crossed that bridge.
But you know what? I'm looking at it now, and it's not too overly sexualized, and the gameplay actually looks kind of cool. It looks like a little running gun 2D side scroller with some cool pixel art too. Game, if the reviews are overwhelmingly positive, then I'm sure this is a pretty cool game.
Yeah, this game actually popped up in my recommended games lists recently, and I wasn't sure why, but Steam is helpful enough to tell me why this game is relevant to me, because A, user reviews are overwhelmingly positive, and B, it has the following tags in it that are relevant, I guess, to my interests. That is great soundtrack, action, Metroidvania, and cute. So the game definitely has, it's apparently a Metroidvania style game, and yeah, you are this rabbit who apparently has become a girl in it looks like a Playboy bunny outfit, as anime girls tend to do. And yeah, you have to save the world, essentially.
I'm reading some of the comments, and somebody compared this to a Dead Cells plus a waifu simulator. And Dead Cells is a great game, and it's pretty addicting. So I'm looking forward to this.
All right, there is let's see. Someone put 9.2 hours into this game. I can't read their name. It's something in Japanese. Posted November 25th. It's got anime titties. It's got bunny girls. It's got bullets. It's got hell. It's good.
Wow, that's certainly a ringing endorsement.
Yeah.
And
It just gets
all right.
better and better.
Looks like I'll be rabbi ribbying myself into a in-depth review for next week.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hear what you have to say about the anime girls and their anime getup. I know this is right up your alley, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
I've got the body pillows and everything.
I've seen the body pillows, and they are glorious.
It's got titties. All right, well, what do you say we take a quick break? And when we come back, we will try to make a positive spin on the whole loot box situation.
Sounds good to me.
Welcome back. It's been a rough week for video game news. A lot of thrashing and justifiable anger towards the whole future of gaming and loot box system. And we here at Press A repeatedly don't exactly want to fuel that anger, although we do agree with a lot of it. We want to try and take the higher road and just kind of suggest maybe some good uses of loot crates in the future and microtransactions, and maybe kind of list some good gaming examples of games that do it well. And that's probably a good place to start, is to highlight some of these games that do a pretty fair and just job of the whole loot crate system. And Chris, do you have any specific examples you want to highlight off the bat?
I do. I want to mention, I feel like this is a bit of a biased pick because I am a big Zelda fanboy, but I like the way that the DLC in Breath of the Wild, for the most part, is presented, because I feel like that is a game where if you had all the content that was released as part of the DLC package, say the Hero's Path, the Master Mode, the Trial of the Sword, all these different the new story elements that are going to be released sometime by the end of this year, so they say. And if you all that was included in the game at first, but the game cost $80, I mean, I'm not necessarily sure that I would have picked it up at that point, because, I mean, $80 is a lot for a game. But you pick up a game for the regular $60 price, and then you have these modes that are introduced little by little as the game goes on. And yeah, I feel like that the content that they're delivering, especially a lot of the different modes that are being unlocked for $20, in the grand scheme of things, $20 really isn't that much. So yeah, you feel comfortable dropping the money for that amount. And I mean, ultimately, you're paying the same price whether the game cost $80 upfront versus $60 and then $20 later for the DLC. But it feels like you're actually getting something. It feels like you're getting some bang for your buck. Now, there's an argument to be said why some of these features weren't just included in the vanilla release of the game, and those are valid criticisms. But the game still has enough extra material being released later on that I feel like justifies a DLC purchase.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, they did give the option of if you wanted to in the very beginning, they let us know before Zelda came out that there was going to be DLC. So a lot of people thought, hey, I know I'm going to love this game. I know I'm going to play the hell out of it. I'm just going to buy, the DLC immediately, which is great. And then they also, what I like that they did was kind of really plan out everything. So far, they haven't, obviously, as you said, given a lot of detail into the third big part of the DLC that I'm waiting for. But they kind of mapped out a lot of what we were expecting. And, if people want to spend money, they can get it, and that's great. Me personally, I have not bought it yet. I am still waiting for the big, third part, which is supposed to be another story mission. Like, that was more appealing to me than some of the other stuff with the master mode and like some of the costumes and everything. So I'm totally fine holding off on that. And, I'm not missing out because it's the same price as it was in the beginning. And I'll still get all that stuff, that I've missed earlier when I do pay the $20 to get, the big DLC part that's supposed to come at the end of the year.
Right. And I feel like that in and of itself is the big thing that I like and a lot of people out there kind of like with the paid DLC versus something where you have the loot boxes that right now are kind of causing a firestorm throughout the gaming community. With the paid DLC, such as like you're getting with Breath of the Wild, you know in advance what you're getting. It's even say for like Destiny 2, you've got the Curse of Osiris coming out very shortly. You know what is part of that DLC package. You know what it is that you're going to be getting. Whereas with loot boxes, you're asking people, hey, drop like $5 or $10 or whatever on this loot box, and you're going to get these randomized items, some of which could be pretty good, some of which maybe even rare. Who knows? You'll just have to buy the loot box to see. And that's a big risk to take, especially with your real money. And people, that leaves a sour taste in their mouth for good reason.
Yeah, and, one of the big things we want to talk about today is what's the right way to go about something like that. And, for example, I haven't played a lot of this yet, but for Overwatch, I feel like their loot boxes aren't really that big a deal because everything that you get from them is really, like, it's cosmetic. It's new skins, it's new, I forget what they call it, the spray paint things. New
the
poses, the tags, yeah, and like new, voice lines for the characters, and like, yeah, it's cool stuff, whatever. But it's nothing that's game changing. It's nothing that's gonna make you better at the game, have more of an advantage of other players. No stat boost, nothing of anything like that. So it's in my opinion, that's something that it's not a big deal. Like, if you pay for it, it's something that you would want to get on your own time, like your own money. It's not something that you feel like you need to have, is basically what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yeah, nothing that's like necessarily necessary to beat the game. Like, it's not as if half the game world is unlocked behind this giant paywall and it's to unlock the rest of the game, pay $20 or something like that. At least it's not something along those lines. But even then, like, I don't want to wade too much into this, but you look at the whole fiasco. It's really impossible to talk about this loot box issue without bringing up Star Wars Battlefront 2 and the
Right.
issues with EA. And the whole issue revolving around that is the amount of time or the amount of money that you need to invest into the game to unlock characters that a lot of people want to play, like Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader. You either need to play the game for a significant amount of time each to unlock these characters, or you simply pay, I forget how much it costs to unlock each one. And I mean, in an overall sense, those characters are fairly cosmetic, because I mean, if you have a Jedi character or a Sith character, then I mean, essentially you're getting Luke or Darth Vader. Is just you're getting these different skins. But a lot of players are arguing that they play Star Wars Battlefront 2 for the purpose of playing as some of these iconic heroes and villains of the Star Wars saga. So to hide them behind a paywall or via loot box is not necessarily fair, because the entire reason they got the game in the first place was to kind of to imitate what it is to be these characters. And they feel like they're getting cheated out of it by EA a little. And I mean, in a sense, the skins themselves, I mean, they're fairly cosmetic, I think. But in the same breath, I mean, that's kind of a good point. I mean, what's the fun in playing a Star Wars game where you don't get to be Darth Vader or Luke Skywalker, you know?
Yeah, it would be like popping in Smash Brothers and you can't be Mario until you've either played the game for 40 hours or spend like actual real world money to unlock them.
Right. And that's another game that did DLC pretty uniquely. Is I mean, well, not uniquely. I mean, it's fairly standard, I guess, in different fighting games where you can unlock different characters, and I think you could also unlock different stages through paid DLC. But even then, like, again, like, you could, like, these characters were optional and they weren't necessarily essential. These were, oh, do you really want to play as Cloud? Do you really want to play as whoever else? I don't even necessarily remember who were the paid DLC characters.
Ryu Bayonetta or Corrin.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so like if you really, really wanted to play as those characters, you could drop the bucks for them. But even then, I mean, that's fairly similar to the whole Star Wars issue. Like, if you really wanted to play as these characters, but again, in the same breath, I'm kind of arguing with myself here. Those characters aren't necessary to play a Smash Brothers game and get the Smash Brothers experience. See, like, if the game started out with, like, Ryu or Cloud, it would be interesting. But then, like you said, if, say, Mario, Luigi, Yoshi, if these characters were locked behind a paywall, that would be an issue.
I mean, going back to trying to improve the loot box, situation for future games, I mean, like we said, it's gonna be around. Developers and publishers are trying to use this to help the industry, to help prevent marking up the price of games for gamers. And I think the problem that a lot of people have, and this makes a lot of sense if you think about it, is that nobody wants to, nor should they, have to pay for progression. You shouldn't have to spend extra money, especially in the gambling sense, where you might not get the thing that you're spending money for, to make your character stronger, better, faster, to advance through the game, to basically do something that should always be unlocked and able to fulfill just by playing the game. It's not fair to people who don't have the amount of money to be able to throw at something like that versus people that do. It creates an unfair balance, and it's just a real problem where it's something that, of course, people will pay for it, and it'll make money for the publishers, but it's still kind of like a gross and slimy thing to do. So they really need to think outside the box here of like trying to think of what they can offer people to pay extra for that won't be viewed in such a negative light. And, we brought up already the idea of the cosmetic stuff. Like, I know Destiny 2's got a lot of that with the shaders and, different sparrows and things that really aren't a big part of the game, like emotes that, you would pay your real world money to get these engrams and get this good stuff. And, that makes a lot of sense. And people do it. People really like customizing their characters in a certain way. They like to stand out. It's very appealing to a lot of gamers. So what I want to ask you, Chris, is what do you think is some other gaming services that they could offer that people could pay for in a loot box, I guess, sense style that really won't alter your progression in a game?
That's a difficult question to answer. I mean, if you're really a fan of these games, or if you really like the developer, or if you're really a big fan of the game itself, I feel like you're gonna want to just drop the money for the loot box anyway. Like, you're going to want to buy those cosmetic items and customize your character and your gear to the way that you want to look, so that way you look unique, you feel like you're a part of the game, and you feel like you're offering a little extra support to this developer whose game you're really, really enjoying, especially if you're sinking a lot of time into the game. Because, especially you get these games that are like hundreds of hours long that you're playing for forever. That's really great bang for your buck for you. But I suppose in terms of the developer, they aren't really getting much bang for their buck on their end. So that's why they have to offer the loot boxes in the first place, so that they can keep a revenue stream going from you, the player. I'm not really sure what alternate revenue streams they could really offer. You have these different loot boxes that you can buy sort of one at a time necessarily. The only other alternative to something like that would be, say, an optional subscription service thing where, say, for like maybe, I don't know, maybe $3 or $5 a month or so, you get access to these bonus items. But I can't imagine anyone wanting to sign up for something like that. So, yeah, I don't really like it so much, but I feel like the whole loot box and microtransaction system that we have is really here to stay. It's just a matter, as we've been talking about, of how you use it. So you don't want to abuse the system where items and key game elements are hidden behind a paywall, but you just offer look at Animal Crossing Pocket Camp, for instance. You have the option to purchase leaf tickets, and these leaf tickets can be used to help accelerate the game for you in various ways. But the way that you use those leaf tickets are up to you, the player. So you could use it to speed up a crafting project, you could use it to get different materials, but still the option is up to you. What you are buying for yourself is flexibility in how you play the game. So I feel like something like that, where you give the player the option, hey, if you pay me $5 or whatever, we can give you more flexibility within this game to be creative or to do whatever you want. That's something that I feel like a lot of players would be like, yeah, okay, I like flexibility. I like being able to stretch my legs a little bit in this game. I like having the ability to do more. I'll do that.
Yeah, that's a good answer. It's because really it's hard. It's really hard to figure out other revenue streams, different ways to go, with just kind of thinking what people would want to buy but also keeping it fair where you're not buying an upper hand or an advantage over anybody else. And it's interesting. I forget where I heard this from, but during the week I heard that in a slight like defense of EA was that their original plans for loot box stuff was going to be all cosmetic. It was going to be different skins for Luke and Leia and different costumes and different guns. But Lucasfilm and Disney came in and put the hammer down and said, "No, you can't do that. We want Luke to look this way. We want our characters to be represented in this exact way, and we're not going to sign off on any variations or costumes or anything." So then EA was like, "Well, crap. Now what are we going to do?" And had to think of a different route. I don't know how true that is, but it does kind of make sense, because if you're blocked out on that and you're still trying to think of a different way to make some money, now your back's kind of against the wall, and maybe now you have to try something. It doesn't justify it like what they did and how much money they were charging initially for a lot of this stuff, but it kind of makes you think a little bit.
I mean, this kind of all leads into the bigger umbrella of, I guess, like how much games cost, because you have these loot boxes and they're saying, well, the cost of video game development itself is so through the roof that we need these loot boxes to bring in additional revenue streams to offset those costs. But you look at how much these the publishers, like you alluded to it earlier, this is money that's going into the publisher's pocket, but we don't necessarily know how much of that is going into the developer's pocket. Because, I mean, even then, how many times have we heard about these successful studios releasing a game and it didn't hit a certain sales mark, or it didn't hit a particular Metacritic score, and so most of the development staff got laid off? I mean, that's not indicative of these costs, these revenues being passed down to these developers so that they're staying healthy. This is indicative of these publishers saying, hey, we're trying to make a little extra here and there, and we need to up our bottom line. And, these loot boxes are a great way of increasing that revenue stream. Now, I mean, I don't want to get too much into the cost of game development, because that's beyond the scope of this particular episode. But it's, it kind of leads into it. And it's the whole reason why we have loot boxes in the first place. And, I mean, again, it's just a matter of them handling it correctly and not, I guess, making it less of a risk to the player to invest in these loot boxes. Like, Belgium just recently classified loot boxes as gambling for their purposes. So I think they're actually going to be appealing to the European Union Commission to ban loot boxes in Europe, because they consider it as gambling, because you're putting money in and you're getting an unexpected outcome out. Because there's no guarantee with these loot boxes that you're getting valuable items that are going to really help you in the game.
Yeah, and it's kind of like scary that like that's the thing that we have to deal with now. And honestly, so we're trying to think of the best way to do these things, and it's going to take a lot of thought and a lot of trial and error for a lot of people. But right now, I think the best way to offer it that is fair for both the consumer, the gamers and the publishers, is that to keep it strictly to cosmetic things, clothing, skins, nothing that alters the gameplay. To avoid paying for progression of your character, and most importantly, being very clear about like what you're offering and laying out what your chances are for getting something, and just being very transparent about all that kind of information.
Right, that's the key word there, transparency. As long as they're open and honest about what it is that you're getting from these loot boxes, from the DLC, from the microtransactions, then you as a customer have all the information you need to make an informed purchase. When you're just putting money into these loot boxes and then you're getting, it's cliche at this point, horse armor, like they offered for in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Yeah, I mean, that was the whole genesis, I think, of the DLC controversy. But yeah, as long as you're getting something that you as the customer feels worthwhile, like say you get a loot box and it tells you, oh, you have a 60% chance of getting this really cool rare item, and then at that point you can decide, I'm going to take the chance, or you can say, no, that's not worth it to me. That I feel like would be a level of openness that some gamers like. Gamers are just like anyone else. They hate change. People would be like, oh, like this is stupid, blah, blah, blah. But eventually, I think people would come around to it and would accept the system a little bit more. I don't think anyone would really enjoy it, but loot boxes are here to stay. I mean, there's no getting rid of them at this point. Not unless we start to pay $80 to $100 for video games.
Yeah. Fair enough. I think we've probably said all we need to say about this. I'm honestly getting tired of saying the words loot box.
Loot box, loot box, loot box. You say it enough times and it starts to lose all meaning.
But yeah, it's definitely stuff to look forward to, and hopefully at some point we can reach a happy medium, and just keep making great games, because that's all that's important.
Yep, that's all we really want. Just make good video games. Don't buy EA published games.
What do you say we get on out of here?
All right, let's put some nice wrapping on this one and tie it up in a nice red and gold leaf trimmed bow.
It's oddly specific. That about wraps it up for this week. Remember, Press Day repeatedly posts new episodes Mondays on iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review the show, or tell your friends about us. It helps other people find the podcast and will really help us grow. And thank you to all who have rated, reviewed, and subscribed so far. We love you.
You can follow us on our Facebook page and on Instagram at Press A Repeatedly. We're also on Twitter at Press A Repeatedly. I'm at cgold113. Justin is at oaf7724. You can email us any questions or comments at parpodcast@gmail.com. As a reminder, PAR Game of the Year balloting ends soon. If you haven't submitted your ballots yet, please do so. As a courtesy, we're extending the deadline for ballots to be received from November 30th to December 3rd. The cutoff for eligible games, though, is still November 30th, so something like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, which is coming out December 1st, is still ineligible for balloting for this year. So you have until December 3rd, that's this Sunday coming up, if you haven't already submitted your ballots. So any ballots that are received after Sunday, December 3rd, are not going to be counted. So make sure to get them in as soon as possible. All right, and that's all for this episode. Justin and Chris signing off. And remember, to fight back against the giant poo monster that lurks in the toilet, press A repeatedly.